Welcome back, and thank you for staying with NTV Weekend Edition. Now, on Talk of the Nation, we do take you back to a meeting that was held earlier in the week where the Education Minister, Janet Museveni, hosted the private teachers and owners from across the country for a meeting on the promised relief to the learning institutions following the effects and challenges faced due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, one of the people that attended this meeting is the UNATU General Secretary FILBERT BAGUMA, who was there to share his experience on a similar grant to public teachers from far back in 2011. Tonight, we speak to him on some of the outcomes of this meeting. Welcome to Talk of the Nation tonight.
Thank you.
Well, would you say this meeting was necessary and timely to the private teachers, and of what importance was it to them?
Yeah, the meeting was timely and one of its kind for the first time, because this meeting brought teachers in the private schools across the country from every district in this country. They had 2 representatives who met, and I don't think there is any other meeting that has ever taken place which is similar in nature. And of course, if you recall, last year around June, the president promised the teachers in the private sector, because of the COVID-19 pandemic and closure of schools, there was an outcry for these teachers not receiving salary. So the president promised them some grant, which is supposed to be revolving. At first he mentioned 2 billion, and then he was advised that it was too little. And he added 18 to make it 20 billion. Now, since that time, it has become very difficult to have mechanisms on how this money can reach the intended beneficiaries in the local governments where they work. And as such, after trying all other means and failing, the permanent secretary, Ministry of Education and Sports, wrote to the CAOs to conduct and convene meetings of private teachers and have them elect their 2 representatives who were invited for this meeting. And also the National Committee for District and Municipal Education Officers was represented in the meeting. The National Association of Inspectors of Schools was also in attendance. The proprietors of schools, private schools and institutions, were also in attendance. And of course, the Ministry of Education and Sports, majorly the unit of private education institutions. So it was a timely meeting, and it was very necessary to meet them and update them, because they have been thinking that possibly this money was eaten long ago, or possibly there is a lot of delay which is intended. So this feedback was necessary at this time.
Okay, so the feedback was that the money is there and the private teachers are going to receive it. Now,
yes,
the bigger question is, what mechanism have they put in place to ensure that all the intended beneficiaries receive this aid?
First of all, what they did is to look at the entire country and divide it into zones. And these zones was for managing the mobilization and sensitization of the teachers. So we clustered, the country was clustered. West Nile, Acholi, Lango, Karamoja, Teso, Eregon, Bukedi, Busoga. The central was divided into 3 categories, Greater Kampala, Mukono, and Wakiso, one part, then Greater Masaka, another one, and then Greater Ruwero, and bringing Mubende and Mitiana on board. Then Bunyoro, Rwenzori, Greater Ankole, and Kigezi. And all these were requested to bring two representatives, those clusters, so that they form a national committee, which committee is now going to be mandated also to scale down from that bigger committee. They will have a committee of 5, where they will have the regions according to government: Western, Eastern, Northern, and Central, and then plus one female, so that they come to have that smaller committee that feeds into the other bigger committee, and then finally the other two representatives from every local government. The purpose is now to look at how to put in place a mechanism where this money will go through. Of course, the ministry is going to look for a fund manager, but the fund manager, to manage this fund, the intended beneficiaries should be in the know and giving feedback to their members. So this committee is going to be charged with following up the issues to make sure that they are aware of what is taking place and how it is going to take place. Yes.
Are there any challenges that you foresee in the arrangement of providing this aid and using the mechanisms that you've just mentioned?
Yeah, obviously, one, we thank His Excellency the President for giving these grants. In 2011, he gave a grant of 25 billion shillings to the teachers in public institutions through UNATU leadership. We went through a number of challenges because part of this money was given to Microfinance Support Center, 9 billion, 317 million. To date, we have never received it and we still demand for it. So it's a challenge even when they are looking for fund managers. This committee has to be alert to make sure that they are there, and they make sure that the fund manager who is selected is a fund manager who is going to deliver the funds to the intended beneficiaries. 2, while you are beginning, this money is supposed to go through circles. Some of the circles will be created or have been created after hearing that there is money coming. And you will find it is a circle in the name, but the membership is not there, and they are only leaders, and they are targeting this money. Once they receive it, the circle will cease to be, and therefore all these need to be looked into. Some extent they will even produce the names and say these are the names of the beneficiaries. But when the money is received, it is a different story. Those who receive will not be the ones who were on paper. Okay,
from your experience, don't you think it's very important to have timelines unto when this money should be out there? Because I think there's an issue of timelines.
Of course, that would be the dream of each and every one. But now the process, for example, if you are going to register an Apex circle, what do you need for you to be registered so that it is recognized and therefore money can start flowing? There are some of these clusters where you may find there are no circles in existence, and the circles must be put in place. So you are better off delaying a bit, but you come up with a mechanism that is going to deliver results, than hurrying it. You get the money, and before you know it, all the money is finished and you cannot trace it. Yes.
This was an opportune moment for the private teachers also to voice other concerns that they go through. We know we've heard of complaints of some teachers working without contracts, others going for longer periods without getting paid. What are some of the other issues that they pointed out in this meeting?
Obviously, one is not being recognized as teachers working in these private institutions, because being a teacher in the private institution doesn't mean that you are a private citizen. The children you are teaching are not private Ugandans, and therefore it was a concern on their terms and conditions, payment of salaries. Sometimes it is irregular, sometimes it is not there, firing them as and when one wants because there are no contracts written, non-submission of their NSSF contribution from the employers, and therefore a number of issues were raised, and it is going to be a process now that they are coordinated. I believe the issues will be sorted out along the way, and good enough with the approval of the National Teachers Policy, we are going to have a streamlined system for education.
All right, thank you so much, FILBERT BAGUMA, for joining us tonight on Talk of the Nation, speaking to us about the recent meeting that was recently had with the private teachers and also the outcomes of this meeting. Thank you too for joining us on Talk of the Nation, and TV Weekend Edition will continue shortly.